Hi, folks. Welcome to this week's ATL Home and Market. Stephanie and I welcome you back. This is Ira Miskin. I'm team leader and broker, and Stephanie Miskin, who is the team leader for Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the Miskin Team. And with us this week is Josh Guallett. Josh is associate broker and also senior team leader with the Miskin Team. Has been in the business for a good long time, Josh will tell you, and has a really, really good perspective on all of the things that are behind the scenes when it comes to helping buyers and sellers to be able to achieve their goals in real estate. Josh, why don't you give us a minute or so on that perspective and who you are and what's going on?
Yeah. So again, Joshua Guallett. I was associate broker. I've been doing real estate for about 16 years. And during that time, I've helped a lot of people. I have helped people that were, of course, buying their first home. They're moving up from that first home, third, fourth, fifth home. I've helped empty nesters. I've helped people that were, just looking for a new place to be, their secondary home or investment property. I've done just about anything outside of, commercial property. So I've helped a lot of people really over the last 16 years.
And in helping folks, part of it, a great part of it actually is the business side of it, because after all, you're helping people to buy and sell, properties that are worth anywhere from $100,000 to a couple of $1 million. And so there's a business deal in it. But there's also the personal side in that, what goes on behind the scenes with them and their lives, right?
Yeah, huge. That's actually a part that a lot of people overlook. It's actually probably the biggest part, honestly, because if there wasn't for the personal side of, buying or selling a home, there's probably no reason to move whatsoever. So you'd be surprised. I like to say we work with people that are, 5 minutes to 2 years out. So I want to buy a home, in 5 minutes immediately, to I want to buy a home in 2 years once, the kids graduate, once the dog passes away, when the, president changes, whatever the reason is, which there's a big list. We try to make sure that, or I try to make sure that everyone is taken care of in their timeline and in their own situation.
And see, that's something that is so important that can get easily lost when you're looking for a really good real estate professional that has a team behind them. Because yes, again, there's the business side. I need to sell my house for X and I need to do it in a certain amount of time. But why people are buying or why people are selling, what's the reason behind it? What's their goals? What's their dreams? Those are the things that are so important in helping people to not just get their home sold or bought at the best price and do it in the shortest amount of time, but to do it with the least amount of stress, to really achieve their goals. And we're going to talk about that a lot in a few minutes. But before we do, Stephanie has this week some really great things going on in and around Metro Atlanta and in the city that, will be not just fun, but fun to actually take part and attend. Stephanie, what you got this week?
Okay, there's a lot of stuff going on. So I have 4 different ideas I want to throw out at you. One of them is the 2025 Glover Park Concert Series. Now, this is the park right in the center of the square of downtown Marietta, where the gazebo is and the choo-choo train is and the fountain. That's where this is. Basically, it's music under the stars. It's free. It's at 8 p.m. every single month at 8 p.m. on the last Friday evening of each month. And it starts in April and it runs all the way to September. So you can pack your picnic basket, bring your blankets, set up under the stars, and have a great time. The first concert is going to be April the 25th, which is coming up. And it's the Bourbon Brothers, which is going to be a tribute to the Rat Pack. So it's a great, fun event that happens all the way through to September. The next thing I want to talk about is going to be going on in Atlanta, and this is the SweetWater 420 Festival. Again, this is also a music festival. It's going to be April the 18th through the 20th at the Pullman Yards. It's going to have 25 artists across 3 unique stages over 2 days in the Pullman Yards ground. And this is going to be coming up April the 18th, the 19th, and the 20th. And it pretty much goes all day long. So in Atlanta, that's a great music festival to check out. The next thing I want to talk about will be coming up in April the 26th and the 27th. And this is an art festival in Smyrna. It has been around forever. It's the Jonquil Festival at the city of Smyrna. And it's all kinds of artists and artisans, entertainment stages, children's activities. It's a great family event. Artists come from all over the Southeast, featuring handmade crafts, paintings, clothing, furniture, jewelry, lots of food. The festival hours are from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock on Saturday and noon to 5 on Sunday. It is free, and you need to check it out at the Village Green, which is located right off of Windy Hill Road, 3 miles to Atlanta Road. So it's right down in the middle of Smyrna. And last but not least, this Sunday is Easter Sunday. And this has been going on forever and ever in Stone Mountain. It's the Easter sunrise service. There are going to be 2 services, one at the top of the mountain and one at the base. They'll be on simultaneously. The park will open at 4 o'clock in the morning. The service starts at 7. Obviously, you got to get there early because it's going to be lots of people and crowded. Brian Wright, who is, the pastor who right from the Heart mission, is going to be preaching on the top of the mountain. And Crawford is the president and founder of Beyond Our Generation, and he is also part of 15 years as the senior pastor of Fellowship Bible Church in Roswell. He will be delivering the service at the base of the mountain. So again, Stone Mountain has so much stuff going on, and this Easter, if you got it in you to get up and be there at 4 o'clock in the morning, do it. It'll be great, and it costs just $20 to get into the park, and then you can spend the rest of Easter having a good time at all the other attractions that are available in Stone Mountain. So that's what I have for you today, and I hope you guys get out and enjoy some of it, and I hope you all have a wonderful and happy Easter.
It's a good thing that there's nothing going on, that we just live in a boring community.
Yeah, I could have gone on with more, but
that's actually my favorite part. Having young kids, you can there's something always to do, especially during the summer. When you're just finding excuses, you need to find an excuse just to leave the house,
right?
Because you need the kids just to run, to just run.
Yeah.
So I love all the events help substantially.
Live action instead of the tablet, right?
Absolutely.
The world we live in.
Electronic. Yeah. Again, and we've talked about this, in each of the areas around Metro Atlanta that Stephanie talks about, these events, these are not just, places that you go and then they're closed up and dark for the rest of the week or the rest of the month. All of these different areas are all surrounded by really interesting and versatile communities with lots of different kinds of housing and a great variation in the housing. Housing in the center of Atlanta is going to be very different than the housing in Stone Mountain, which again is going to be different than the housing in Marietta, which is going to be different if you're living in the outskirts of Marietta, where there was a lot of new construction for many years, versus in the center of Marietta, right around the square, where there are homes that are dated back to the Civil War that people have purchased and have renovated and have kept the integrity of those houses. So wonderful older communities like Stone Mountain, brand new condos and townhomes and high rises inside the city of Atlanta, and great combinations of communities in places, anywhere from McDonough on the south side all the way up to Roswell on the north side. And that's a good part of what people have to reconcile when they think about, I've lived in the house that I'm in for a while. I've outgrown the house, or my family has grown up and now I have a big house and too much space and I need to downsize. But there are a great many buyers that are looking for homes that also have to sell their current home in order to buy their next home. And that's a really interesting financial problem, as well as it's an interesting sales problem, because you have to figure out how to balance the buying of the new home with the selling of the old home, so that, and this is always the big puzzle, can we do both of them and close them literally on the same day? Our big joke is, we've sold your house and we've closed the sale of your house at 11 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to work on the purchase of your new house at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock, you're actually homeless. Well, that's something that can be dealt with, but it's not a joke, because very often in a situation where a seller has to buy and sell at the same time, one or the other part of that sale falls down, and then somebody is either stuck with two homes or stuck with no home. And we've developed a lot of different programs to help people, and one that we will talk about in later podcast, called our Guaranteed Sale Program. But in this episode, what we want to do is spend some time looking at how in the modern financial world, you can actually find yourself in a financial situation when you do the homework necessary, and you have both a great sales advisor that has a team, and part of that team is a really, really good loan officer that is associated with a great many programs, because there are lots of programs that are called buy before you sell, and lots of different approaches to enable home sellers to purchase their new home first and then go back and do what's necessary to get their home prepared to sell their own home. And Josh has done a great many of these kind of transactions in a variety of different ways over the years. And Josh has a couple of stories that he can tell you about different ways in which buying before you sell becomes the appropriate and best way to do it.
Yeah, so I have a lot of stories. I could take hours and hours, telling everyone stories. But one or two of the good ones, or one of the ones that really kind of stand out, was I was actually working with some clients, the Fishers, and what they were doing was they lived in their home since it was built in the early 90s. They raised their kids there. They loved the home, great home, but they really didn't just see a reason to renovate. They lived in the home and they had a good time. And in the beginning, when one of the things they told me is, in the beginning, they barely had enough just to get into the house, barely had enough, to eat. But they stayed in the house, and they stayed in the house long enough, and eventually, paid the house off. But one thing that happens is, when the kids finally graduate and everyone's finally starting to separate a little bit, they realize they don't need the stairs anymore. They the split level that they loved day one to plus 30 years, it just wasn't for them anymore. Knees are the downfall of a lot of us anyway. So what happens is they really, really want to buy their next house. They really need the money from the sale of their previous home, but they really, really, really need to find the next house. The issue is that even though they love the home, they didn't love upgrading the home. Let me just say it that way. They didn't love renovating the home. So it was going to be real tough sell to get their home sold while they're in the home without the home being renovated. So what we did, there's a lot of different programs available. Luckily, they're in a position that they could, at least for a short amount of time, hold out by buying the next home that they wanted to. So what we did is we got them in. We've actually found their next home, a great, beautiful home. Wow, amazing home, honestly, in Cartersville. And while they were getting everything prepared, we had a contractor come in, do all the work, all the renovations, so that the second they got out, the renovations were being done. And within a week, really within a week and a half, we had the house, sold, above list price. Little to no contingencies. I mean, it was a very clean, offer. So there's a lot of different ways, including the bridge loan, scenario where you actually, if you're not in a situation where you can even hold out with those two mortgages for just a moment, or the possibility of two mortgages for just a moment, where a lender will actually, we have several lenders, and what we'll do is we'll get our lender to actually set you up with a bridge loan where you actually can go ahead and move into your next home first. You go out, they'll give you enough money for your down payment, some additional costs to get into your next home. They'll give you up to 6 months to sell your previous home. And during that time, they'll pay a large portion, they'll actually pay your mortgage for you. So you really only are focused on your next home. So during that time, you have time to do the renovations. You have the money to do the renovations. And more importantly, people can walk to the house and feel like you're not walking in someone else's space. They can feel themselves in the house. So that's just, one or two other ways that I've done in the past. If you want me to, I can tell you a lot more stories, some good, some not so good, and some that were horrible that we turned into good. So, but yeah, so some things I've done more recently.
And it's the ones that start out horrible that we turn into good.
Yeah.
That are the ones that they take thought, not just action. What are the finances of the home seller? How much equity do they have in the home? Do they need to buy a bigger home for more money? And how are they going to balance the two? Or are they downsizing? And they need to buy a smaller home, but in this current market, house prices have risen. And so they may have to find some way to balance what ultimately they're going to be able to receive from their home sale to match what they're going to need in their home buy. So looking for lenders who will help sellers in their buy before you sell programs. And there are a number of different programs where the lender will, as Josh said, they will take over the current loan if there is one on the home. Or if you have no mortgage, but you just want to get your cash out, give you a bridge loan, which you don't need to make payments on until you sell that house. And you can use the money to not only purchase your new home, but in some cases, put that money back into the previous home to do the upgrades necessary so you can get full market value. And there are lots of ways in which you can look at how to best diagnose the house, the move, the resources that you have, and the financial resources that will be necessary in order for you to make that move. And again, not get stuck carrying two mortgages so that you're taking all of the cash that you had and putting it back into the mortgages. There's so many ways that you can approach that. There's another story, and this is a story from some folks that we had known personally for a good long time, who had lived in a house up in Marietta. Again, they had lived in the house for like 26 or 27 years. They were, both of them getting older. They didn't want to have steps up and down to the second floor anymore, but they wanted to be in a place where they'd moved to, where they had all of their living quarters on the main floor, but they wanted to have at least a room and a bath or some rooms on the second floor so that when their grandkids came to visit all the way from California, there was space for everybody to be there. But the trick was to figure out how to best get that home prepared and sold. Steph, you've got some thoughts on that particular sale, and then I've got a couple of things that I can fill in after that.
Yeah, they were a great couple, which we knew from church, but the wife was also a teacher at Lassiter High School, and both of my kids had her. She was a mathematics teacher. And they were getting older and their kids were grown, like Ira said, and the house was just too big. There were too many steps then, but they were kind of like, well, where do we even begin? I don't even know where to begin. We've been in this house for so long. There's so much stuff in here. We don't want to sell the house and then worry about where we're going to go next. We want the security of knowing that we have a place to go, and we want to go to an active adult community kind of place because, we're over the kids growing up stuff, and our grandkids come once a year. But, we're looking for a place that has some activity where there are going to be people our own age. The one thing that the hubby wanted was he smoked cigars, and she didn't want him smoking the cigars in the house. So they wanted either a screened-in porch or a back patio, and they wanted to have that house. Now, they were in a good situation because they didn't have a note anymore. They had paid off their house, but the house needed some work. And as Ira will tell you, as we discovered, not only did the house have to be cleaned out and emptied and all of that, but there were some foundation issues which we found in the house, which had to be addressed before they sold the house.
One of the programs that we developed at Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and our sister brokers all around the country offer that same program is called our Certified Pre-Owned Home Program, which is modeled after the Certified Pre-Owned Car programs, where you go buy a CPO car and that car comes with a home warranty, and they've fixed the brakes and they've cleaned the inside and they've made the car really spiffy, and they charge you a percentage or so higher than you would if you bought exactly the same car as just a used car. Because in effect, when you're selling your home, you're selling a used house. So when we developed the Certified Pre-Owned Home Program, it was designed to get a house prepared in such a way that a buyer was assured when they bought that home that all of the issues that are there in that house had been addressed before they bought it, so they don't have to worry about finding cracked foundations or, sagging roofs or, all of the things that can occur after a buyer has put a down payment on a home, has put an offer in on a home rather, and now has to have the home inspections, and they find all of these things that are wrong. So in the Certified Pre-Owned Home Program, we have the house pre-inspected from top to bottom by the same top-level home inspectors that do the inspections for home buyers when they're, after they put offers in, to identify all of the issues that house has that can and should be corrected. So when a buyer gets the home, they don't have any issues. And that helps in two ways. Number one, it's less expensive when you can take your time correcting issues in a home, as opposed to you've got to get a contractor in and you've got to get it all done in a week. And so you have to pay more money to get a service done faster than if it was done during a normal period. And a lot of home purchases fall apart during the home inspections, where the buyer discovers that there are issues with the home and become afraid to buy that house because who knows what they might have missed, and oh my God, and they back out of the offer. So correcting these issues, doing it before the home goes on the market, can be presented to the buyers to say, hey, look, we discovered that X was wrong and Y was an issue. But look, see here, we had contractors come in. We've corrected those issues. Here's the receipts for the corrections. Here's a copy of the home inspection that we did. It just resolves so many post binding agreement issues. Binding agreement meaning that the buyer has now committed to buy the home and has to do all these inspections. And um, one of the wonderful side effects of this is that when we put up a sign on a home that says this is a certified pre-owned home, it makes it stand out among all the other homes. And in fact, our certified pre-owned homes sell for more money than a used home. So programs and systems and advisors and teams that can execute to make sure that the sales side of the home is as effective as it can possibly be, so that it makes it much easier for the buy side of what you want to accomplish. Now, in the case of this particular house, when we had the home inspected, we found a bunch of small things in the house because even though they hadn't updated the house, they really kept the house in really nice shape. But this house had been built with a block foundation. You can have a block foundation, you can have a poured concrete foundation. If they're done correctly, they last forever, 50 years, 100 years. But because of the way this original block foundation had been built, and this was the section of the wall that was beneath ground surface in the basement, the weight of all of the dirt that backed up to that wall over the 30 years that this house had existed, and all of the wet, rain-soaked dirt added so much weight to it that over the years, leaning against the wall caused the wall to bow. Now, the homeowners didn't know this because they had, shelves and all kinds of stuff stacked against the wall. But when we cleaned the house out and we got the home inspectors in and we looked at the wall and we said, oh my gosh, this wall is bowing in. That could have easily killed any sale on the home. So what we did is we brought in a really good contractor that specializes in dealing with foundation issues. They set the wall to right, did a whole range of things that I won't describe that are necessary to bring the home back, the foundation wall back into number one top physical condition that could pass any inspection. It probably cost $6,000 or $7,000 to do that work. But if they had to do that after the home already had a contract on it and they had to get it done in a week and didn't have a chance to do the work and the timing that was necessary, it would have cost double the amount and could have killed the deal because, gosh, the foundation's coming apart. Oh, my God. Which is a serious but totally correctable issue. So we were able to get that foundation done as well as to do a whole bunch of touch up around the house inside the home, just make it pretty and spiffy. And we put that house on the market, and it's in a very good school district. It's in the Lassiter High School district where the homeowner, Lynn, had worked for so many years. And we were able to tell folks that, oh, by the way, this had housed a whole bunch of issues. Some of them were pretty big. And all of these issues have been corrected. So you can move into this house and rest assured that this house is going to, for the next 30 years, as long as you take care of it, be in great physical shape. In 2 days, with one open house, we had 8 offers. The house sold at 106% of the original list price. The home buyers were delighted to buy it. And because the house was now empty, the homeowners were able to immediately move right in. Didn't have to wait for the sellers to pack up and move out. And so within 20 days of the time we got the house on the market, everybody was happy and satisfied. And that's a really important part of the process. And Josh knows that. Josh has been down that road before and has worked in situations where you've had to really think through how you prepare a house in order for it to be sold. just one of the things, some of the things that you talk to home sellers about to help them to know what they need to do to get a home prepared to sell it the best way?
The very first thing I always recommend when it comes to just, even playing with the idea of selling is trying to see the home from a different person's point of view, seeing it from a buyer's point of view. You know, perfect example. The seller I was working with, you go into their house, great house, but they just didn't care about the carpet. So kids ate everywhere. There were some dogs they tried to clean up. And so at some point you walk in and they don't see any issue with the carpet. They've had it. They've had it for years and years and years, and they say we can just buff this out. We can just clean this out. But from an outside buyer's point of view, one stain, two stains, three stains, and then the 50 other stains. It means that there's something else could be going on. Also small easy repairs that were that could be fixed in with $15 at Home Depot. If a buyer walks into a house and that very easy repair is not taken care of, there's a good chance that something else they just didn't care about, the seller didn't care about. So those are some of the things I always recommend, from a seller's point of view, to always take into account. Look at it from someone else's point of view, not from someone who just has an emotional attachment, but who's someone who is really wants that emotional attachment to your house, and then is also putting a large investment into your house, and that will clear up a lot of those issues.
There are also programs, and Josh, you have done this before as well, where seller knows that they need to fix the house up,
Yeah, I know.
but they just don't have the money to fix the house up. And there are contractors that you work with that can actually step in and help them to get that kind of thing done. Talk a little bit about that kind of program.
Yeah, it's a great program. So what happens is a lot of sellers know they need, say, the wall painted, they need the carpet replaced, they need, that hole in the backyard that's, taking half the yard needs to be filled in, whatever it may be. And they don't have the money up front. They don't have the funds, or they don't have the equity, or whatever it may be. They don't have it in order to get those renovations done. But if those renovations were completed, if the wall was painted, the floors redone, they would be able to make substantial amounts more than what the home would sell without it. So we actually do have several contractors and a company that we work with that we go through. We put exactly what you're looking for, exactly the renovations that need to be done. We actually do a complete market analysis where we go through. Okay, if you were just to sell it right now without doing any work, what the home would sell for, how much it will be in your pocket. And then we go through and, okay, if you do these renovations, we can tell you with fairly accurate numbers what a home will sell if you just do those very easy. If you just had the money yourself, you could do it repairs. But they'll actually almost rebuild the entire house if that called for it. But even small little repairs, again, just cosmetic repairs, make a substantial difference when it comes down to the money that's going to be placed in your hand at the closing table. So we have contractors that take that off for you. They get paid at the closing. You do not have to pay it up front. They actually get paid at the closing.
And this is totally HGTV. There are a number of great home and garden TV programs where the real estate folks will come in and they will go through the house and they will make a deal with the sellers to say, hey, listen, we'll clean the house up, we'll upgrade the house, we'll fix this, we'll do that, and you don't have to pay us a nickel for it, because then we're going to help you get that home sold, and we're going to get paid when this house gets sold. And we know that this house in this condition that you tried to sell for $450,000, well, nobody was interested. But if you put $35,000 or $45,000 or $55,000 into the house, you could sell it for $540,000. So not only would you make all of the cost back for fixing your house up, but you'd also make an additional profit on top of it, because now you're selling it for full market value. And there'll even be people who are arguing over that house and may be able to sell it for more than market value. And it works on HGTV, but it works 100% in real life, because when you have a team with an advisor and a group behind them that knows how to diagnose the home correctly, do the financial evaluation of the home, look at it from the standpoint, as Josh said, of what the house is worth now versus what the house could sell for if it was fixed up, and how much more you, home seller, could earn by doing that fix up. And then, especially if you're in a situation where you want to buy a home first and fix up the old home, there are some great programs, and there's some great programs that we have developed. One program that's called Fix and List, one program that's called Buy Before You Sell, all of which are designed to help home sellers buy their new home first, have the time and the money to fix up their current home so they can get full top market value and not be stressed to the max in getting it done, because now there's time and there's schedule. And again, when you have a home advisor that has a team behind them, home inspectors, building contractors, loan groups, all of the people that are necessary to help you put that together, selling a home or buying a home for the best price in the least amount of time with the least amount of hassle, that's what this is all about. So if you have any questions or want any additional information about Buy Before You Sell programs, there'll be a link in the information that surrounds this video when you watch it. Just click on that link and that will get you to our website. That'll let you download some great information about Buy Before You Sell programs and how that might be a valuable opportunity for you when you're thinking about buying a home but need to sell your home. And listen, take advantage of some of the events that Stephanie's talked about this week. There'll be great fun. There'll be great opportunities for you as an individual or with families and friends. And we want to wish you a happy Easter. And one other thing, if you like what you hear, when you watch this, just click like that you like this. That lets folks know that there's some really good and valuable information. And you may also want to just subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can come on a weekly basis and you can see what the latest information is about helping people buy and sell homes, and find out about some great things to do and meet some of the top team advisors that we work with that when the timing is right can help you take care of what you need. So on behalf of Stephanie and Josh, I want to thank you all for visiting us this week. Have a great rest of the week and have a great Easter holiday.
Yep. Everybody have a great holiday and get out and play some.
Yes. You have a great one.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks.
Take care.
You too.